I need to tell you something, and I need you to not judge me until I'm done. I fell in love with a man the whole city was afraid of. A man who couldn't be touched by anyone. Literally, physically, could not be touched without screaming. Until me. My hands were the only thing that stopped his pain. And for a while, I told myself that was love. But honestly, part of me liked that he needed me. Part of me liked being the only one. And that part of me almost destroyed us both. Okay, let me back up. My grandmother, we called her Nana, came to the States from Ghana in 1979 with $80 and a gift she couldn't explain. She could touch people and know things. Not psychic, not voodoo, nothing like that. She'd hold your hand and tell you where it hurt before you said a word. Doctors couldn't explain it. Didn't matter. People came to her little apartment in the Bronx from 5 boroughs away, and she helped them. Every single one. When I was 22, Nana was dying, ovarian cancer. I sat by her bed in that same apartment, holding those hands that had healed so many people and couldn't heal themselves. And she grabbed me. I mean, grabbed me. Iron grip for a woman with no strength left, and said, "Amma, you have the gift, child. You'll meet someone the world has given up on, and you'll see what no one else can see." I promised her I would. What else do you say to a dying woman you love more than anything? I became a nurse, worked my way up, and 6 years later, I got the call that changed everything. An offer from Whitfield Medical, the most exclusive private care facility on the East Coast. We're talking hedge fund managers, politicians, old money families, the kind of place where the lobby had fresh orchids and the patients had bodyguards. My first day, doctor. Whitfield herself, tall, blonde, smile that never quite reached her eyes, walked me through orientation. And right at the end, she paused and said, "Our clientele is particular, Amma. High profile. They have certain expectations about their care providers." I knew exactly what she meant. I'd been Black in America for 28 years. I knew what certain expectations was code for. But I smiled and said, "Pain doesn't care about expectations, Dr. Whitfield. Neither do I." Something flickered across her face. She moved on. That's when they told me about my patient. And honestly, they warned me like they were sending me into a war zone. "Dominic Rossi, Doctor," Whitfield said, flipping open a file thicker than a phone book. 34. Undiagnosed chronic pain condition. Every form of physical contact triggers extreme neurological distress. He's been to specialists on 4 continents. No diagnosis, no treatment, no progress. She paused. He's also destroyed every nurse we've assigned. 8 so far. 1 quit nursing entirely. He's violent, unpredictable, and his family is... She chose her next word carefully. Connected. Connected. In that world, that meant one thing. The only person who seemed happy about my assignment was Jessica Chen. Pretty, sharp, always smiling. She caught me in the break room and grabbed both my hands like we were old friends. "You're the one they picked for Rossi? Oh my God, Amma, you have no idea. He's a legend. The Dragon, they call him. Most powerful man in the city. And nobody can even touch him without him losing it. He's still just a patient with a condition," I said. Jessica laughed. A little too bright. "You really are new here. Come on, I'll walk you up." Moral support. But at the door to Dominic's private wing, Doctor, Whitfield stopped Jessica cold. "Nurse Osai only. Mr. Rossi's orders." For just a split second, so fast I almost missed it, something dark crossed Jessica's face. Then the smile snapped back. "Good luck, girl. You're gonna do amazing." I nodded and walked in. I didn't see Jessica's smile disappear the second that door closed. I didn't know she'd been requesting this assignment for 2 years. I didn't know I'd just made an enemy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. 4 bodyguards flanked the hallway. The suite looked like a 5-star hotel swallowed a hospital room. And there, standing by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, was Dominic Rossi. I'd prepared myself. I'd read the file. I knew he was wealthy, powerful, dangerous. I hadn't prepared for the pain. It radiated off him like heat from an open furnace. The tension locked in his shoulders. The white knuckle grip on the windowsill. The way he stood perfectly still, like moving might shatter him into pieces. This wasn't a crime lord. This was a man being eaten alive from the inside. "Mr. Rossi, I'm Nurse Jose. I'll be..." He turned. Our eyes met. In the room, went silent. Not quiet, silent. The way the world goes silent right before an earthquake. I felt the hairs on my arms stand up. Felt something stir deep in my chest. In the place where Nana always said the gift lived. "What did you just do?" he said. I introduced myself. He moved toward me, not threatening, searching. Like I was an equation he couldn't solve. His eyes locked on mine, and I could see it. Exhaustion carved into every line of his face, hands trembling at his sides. "Take my blood pressure," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. I reached for his wrist. The moment my fingers touched his skin, Dominic Rossi inhaled like a man breaking the surface after years underwater, and tears, actual tears, rolled down his face. Not from pain, from relief. He stood there, shaking, crying silently, and I held his wrist and felt his pulse slow from a sprint to something almost peaceful. 3 seconds. That's all it took. 3 seconds of my touch, and 10 years of agony flickered like a candle in the wind. "Don't move," he whispered. "Please, just don't move." I didn't, and I felt it. The gift. Nana's gift. Alive and warm in my hands. Doing something I couldn't explain and didn't fully understand. I should have asked myself a hard question right then. Was I staying because of Nana's promise, or because for the first time in my life, I was irreplaceable? But I didn't ask. I just held on. Over the next few weeks, something shifted between us. It started clinical. I was his nurse, he was my patient. I'd come in, check his vitals, and the moment my hands touched him, that tension in his body would just melt. Like watching ice crack in spring. He'd close his eyes and breathe. Really breathe. Sometimes for the first time in days. But then we started talking. And Dominic Rossi, the dragon, the man grown men crossed the street to avoid, turned out to be funny, sharp, curious about everything. He asked me about Ghana, about Nana, about why I became a nurse. He remembered every detail. The man who couldn't be touched remembered every single word I said. And I fell. Hard. Stupid hard. The kind of hard where you know you're in trouble, but the falling feels so good you don't want to stop. He fell too. I could see it in the way he watched me when he thought I wasn't looking. The way his voice got softer when it was just us. The way he started asking me to stay longer. Not because of the pain, but because he wanted me there. But here's the thing about being someone's only cure. At some point, the line between love and dependency disappears, and I was too deep in to see which side I was standing on. The first crack came at dinner with his family. Dominic wanted me to meet his mother, Lorraine Rossi, old school Italian-American, the kind of woman who had a plastic-covered couch and a framed photo of the Pope in the hallway. He was so excited. Like a kid bringing home a good report card. "She's gonna love you," he said. She did not love me. Lorraine was polite. That was the worst part. She wasn't rude. She was polite in the way that cuts deeper than rudeness ever could. I brought jollof rice, my mama's recipe. Lorraine looked at the dish, smiled, and said, "Oh, how interesting. How exotic." Then she set it at the far end of the table, where nobody could reach it. Over dinner, she asked me where I was from. I said the Bronx. She laughed and said, "No, I mean, where are you really from? Originally?" I told her my parents came from Ghana. She nodded slowly, like that confirmed something she'd already decided. Then, casual as anything, she said, "So, your parents came here legally, right?" I only asked because Dominic's father, God rest him, was very particular about that sort of thing. I felt my face go hot. I smiled. I said, "Yes, ma'am, legally." Dominic didn't flinch, didn't notice. He was loading his plate and laughing at something his brother Vincent said, completely oblivious. And I sat there thinking, he really doesn't see it. He's not ignoring it. He genuinely does not see it. That was scarier than if he'd been in on it. In the car home, I was quiet. Dominic kept talking about how well it went. "See? She loved you. I told you." I almost said something. Almost. But I looked at his face. Relaxed. Happy. Pain-free for the first time all day because my hand was resting on his. And I swallowed it. I told myself it wasn't that bad. I told myself I was overreacting. I wasn't overreacting. That night, I called my mama, told her about Dominic. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Mama Grace said, "Baby, you know I want you to be happy, but that family, that world. You know how they see us. What happens when the new wears off, and all that's left is a man who thinks loving you is charity? Mama, he's not like that. They never are. At first." She wasn't being mean. That was the thing. She was being honest. And her honesty came from 30 years of being a black woman married to a black man in America, watching the world tell them they were less than every single day in 1,000 tiny ways. I couldn't tell her she was wrong because I didn't know if she was. And here's what I started noticing. I was becoming two different people. With Dominic and his world, I was careful, measured. I chose my words, watched my volume, made sure I didn't confirm whatever box they'd already put me in. With my family, I was loud, I was messy, I was me. My sister Amma would call, and I'd finally exhale, cracking jokes in the mix of English and tree we'd grown up on. One night, after a fundraiser Dominic dragged me to, me in a dress I couldn't afford, smiling at people who looked through me, I called Amma from the bathroom and said, "Girl, I'm so tired of being the articulate one." Like that's a compliment. Like they expected me to show up grunting. Abina laughed. "Welcome to America, sis," every Tuesday. I laughed too. But when I hung up, I looked at myself in that bathroom mirror. Expensive dress, straightened hair, smile I'd been performing all night. And I thought, which version of me does Dominic love? The real one or the one I built for his world? I never asked him. I was afraid of the answer. And while I was busy falling in love and losing myself, Jessica Chen was sharpening her knife. I found out the full story later, after everything blew up. And look, I'm going to tell you about Jessica, and I need you to hold two things in your head at the same time. What she did was wrong, dead wrong, but why she did it? That part I understood more than I wanted to. Jessica's mother came to the States from Fujian province with nothing. Worked in a nail salon 16 hours a day until her hands were permanently bent. Everything she had, every dollar, every ounce of energy went into Jessica's education. Nursing school, the career, the dream of stability. Jessica had been at Whitfield for 4 years. She was good, really good, and she'd been requesting the Rossi assignment for 2 of those years because she knew what landing it meant. Prestige, security, a fast track to a position no one could take away, a chance to give her mother the life she'd broken her body for. And then I walked in on my first day and got what she'd been begging for. I'm not excusing what she did, but I'm telling you, I understood the hunger. The feeling that you'd done everything right and someone else got the reward anyway. I'd felt that same thing 100 times. Jessica started small, whispered concerns to the right people. She pulled Marco aside one day, Dominic's right hand, and said, all innocence, "I'm just worried, you know." Amma's new. She's not from around here. She doesn't really understand how things work with families like the Rossis. Not from around here. Doesn't understand. Perfectly innocent words if you don't look too closely. Loaded with everything ugly if you do. She started building a case. Carefully. Patiently. She compiled evidence that I was sharing Dominic's medical information. Fabricated messages. Screenshots taken out of context. A paper trail designed to look damning if you already wanted to believe the worst. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. The part I haven't told anyone. While Jessica was building her trap, I was keeping my own secret. I'd started to realize something about the gift. About what my touch did for Dominic. His condition wasn't just about me being present. Over time, I could feel it. The patterns in his nervous system, the triggers, the pathways. I was starting to understand it well enough that I could have taught him coping mechanisms, ways to manage the pain on his own. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough that he wouldn't need me there every single day. And I didn't tell him. I told myself it was too soon, that he wasn't ready, that the techniques weren't reliable yet. But late at night, alone in my apartment, I knew the real reason. If Dominic could manage his pain without me, what was I? Just a nurse. Just a regular black girl from the Bronx. Not special. Not irreplaceable. Just ordinary. So I kept quiet, and I let him need me. Looking back, we were both keeping secrets. His were about to blow up in my face, but mine? Mine were the kind you don't admit to anyone, not even yourself. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because I'd just gotten my hair braided the day before. Fresh cornrows, gold cuffs at the ends, the works. I felt good. I felt like myself. And I walked into Dominic's suite that morning, thinking it was going to be a regular day. He was standing by the window, same spot as the first time I saw him. But the energy was different. The air felt wrong, heavy, like walking into a room where someone's been screaming and just stopped. Marco was there too, which was unusual. He stood by the door with his arms crossed, not looking at me. Dominic? Everything okay? He didn't turn around. His shoulders were locked tight. I could see the pain radiating through him. He hadn't let anyone touch him in what looked like days. His hands were gripping the windowsill so hard I could see white bone through his knuckles. When were you gonna tell me? His voice was flat. Dead. Tell you what? He turned around. And the look on his face. I'd seen Dominic in agony, in rage, in moments where the pain made him want to tear his own skin off. But I'd never seen this. This was betrayal. This was a man who'd let someone past every wall he had and just found out the door was never locked to begin with. He threw a folder on the bed between us. Papers spilled out, screenshots, messages, medical records with my name highlighted. A trail of evidence that said I'd been selling his private health information to journalists, to rival families, to anyone willing to pay. None of it was real. All of it looked real. Dominic, I've never seen these before. This isn't... Don't. He held up a hand. Everyone told me. My mother, Marco. Everyone said you were using me, and I defended you. I fought with my own family for you. Because I wasn't using you. Someone fabricated. Everyone told me. He said it again, quieter this time. And then he looked at me, and what he said next, I will hear it for the rest of my life. Every word, every syllable. Girls like you always have an angle. Girls like you. The room didn't go silent this time. It went loud, my blood rushing in my ears, my heartbeat in my throat. Every microaggression, every, where are you really from? Every time someone locked their car door as I walked past. Every time I was followed in a store. Every time someone complimented how articulate I was. All of it crashed into those 3 words. Girls like you. I knew exactly what like you meant. He might not have. Or maybe he did, and the pain and the betrayal ripped away whatever filter kept it buried. I don't know. I still don't know. And honestly, it doesn't matter, because the words were out. You can't unhear something like that. I stood very still. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady when I said, say that again. Say girls like me one more time. So I know exactly what you mean. Dominic's jaw clenched. He didn't repeat it. Something flickered across his face. Maybe he heard it. Really heard what he just said for the first time. But it was too late. That's what I thought. I said. I pulled off my badge, set it on the bed next to his fake evidence, and I walked out. I didn't cry. Not in the hallway. Not past the bodyguards. Not in the elevator. I held it together with everything I had because I was not going to give anyone in that building the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. I made it to my car, closed the door, put my hands on the steering wheel, and I sat there. I sat there for 45 minutes, not crying, not moving, just sitting with the earthquake happening inside me. Because here's what nobody tells you about a moment like that. The worst part isn't the betrayal. The worst part is the tiny voice in the back of your head that whispers, did you deserve some of this? Because I knew. I knew I'd kept him dependent on me. I knew I could have taught him to manage the pain on his own, and I chose not to. I knew that my reasons for staying weren't pure, weren't just about Nana's promise or love or healing. Part of me had stayed because being needed felt like being valued. And I'd never been able to tell the difference. Dominic was wrong. What he said was racist and cruel and unforgivable in a way that goes beyond a bad day or bad information. But I also wasn't the innocent victim I wanted to be. And sitting in that car, hands shaking on the wheel, that was the loneliest realization of my life. I drove straight to my parents' house in the Bronx. I didn't call first. I just showed up at their door at 2 in the afternoon on a Thursday, still in my scrubs, And the second Mama Grace opened the door and saw my face, she knew. She didn't ask what happened. She just pulled me inside and held me on the couch while I finally broke. I told her everything. Dominic, the fake evidence, girls like you, all of it. And when I was done, my mama held my face in both her hands and said something that broke me even more than Dominic had. I told you, baby, that world wasn't built for us. She wasn't being cruel. She was being a mother. But God, it hurt. Not because she was wrong, but because she was right. And being right meant this wasn't just about one man saying one terrible thing. It was about a whole world that would always see me as girls like you before it saw me as Amma. I was angry, not just at Dominic, at her too, at the fact that my mother had to be right about this, that I could be the best nurse, the most devoted partner, the most patient, gracious, code-switching, smile-performing version of myself, and still end up on a couch in the Bronx with mascara on my mama's good blouse. Papa Ernest came home at 6. He took one look at me, set down his toolbox, and sat in his chair without a word. My father is a quiet man. Came to America from Accra with my mother in '92. Built a plumbing business with his bare hands. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, it lands. He let me cry myself out. Then he said, "Is it done?" "Yeah, Papa, it's done." He nodded, and that was that. In his world, you got hurt, you came home, you healed, you moved forward. Simple. Except it wasn't simple, because that night, my phone started buzzing. Dominic, calling, one after another. The first 10, I ignored. By 20, I turned the phone face down. By 30, my sister Abana came over and sat with me. Both of us pretending to watch TV while my phone vibrated itself across the coffee table like a living thing. 47 missed calls by midnight. I knew what those calls meant. Without my touch, the pain was back. Worse than ever. Every nerve on fire, every second, agony. No relief, no escape. He was suffering, and I was the only person on earth who could stop it. And I chose not to answer. Was that self-preservation, or was it revenge? Was I protecting myself, or was I punishing him? I've thought about it 1,000 times, and the honest answer is, I don't know. It was both. It was neither. It was a woman sitting on her mama's couch, looking at a phone that wouldn't stop buzzing, knowing the person on the other end was in genuine pain, and choosing herself for the first time, even if choosing herself meant someone else suffered. Abina looked at the phone, then at me. "You good?" "No," I said, "but I'm done being not good for someone else's sake." She squeezed my hand. We watched TV. The phone kept buzzing. I didn't pick up. 3 weeks later, Vincent Rossi showed up at my parents' door. I almost didn't come downstairs. Papa Ernest answered, took one look at this tall Italian guy in an expensive coat standing on our stoop in the Bronx, and just stared at him. Didn't say a word. My father has a stare that could curdle milk. "Mr. Osei, my name is Vincent Rossi. I'm Dominic's brother. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need 5 minutes with Amma, please." Papa looked at him for a long, long time. Then he turned and called up the stairs. "Amma, someone here for you." I came down, saw Vincent, almost turned right back around. 5 minutes, he said. "That's all I'm asking. And then I'll leave, and you'll never hear from any Rossi again, if that's what you want." I sat on the porch steps. He sat next to me, and he told me everything. Jessica Chen had fabricated all of it. Every screenshot, every message, every piece of, quote, evidence. Vincent had gotten suspicious when Jessica started showing up at the facility more. Asking questions about Dominic she had no reason to ask. He dug into it, pulled security footage, phone records, talked to people. The whole thing unraveled fast once someone actually looked. She'd been planning it for months, Vincent said. Patient, methodical. She wanted the assignment. She wanted access to Dominic. When you got it instead, she decided to take you out. I sat with that for a moment, and Dominic believed her, just like that. Vincent didn't sugarcoat it. Yeah, he did. Why? Because he wanted to. Vincent's voice was quiet. Look, I love my brother, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's not broken in ways that go beyond whatever's wrong with his nerves. He's been betrayed before. Really betrayed. An ex who sold his medical records to the press. And somewhere deep down, he decided a long time ago that good things don't last. That people always leave or take. When Jessica handed him the excuse, he grabbed it. Because being right about you being fake hurt less than being wrong about you being real. That hit me somewhere I wasn't ready for. He also said something to me, I said. Something I need you to hear. He said, girls like you. And I need to know, is that who your family is? Because your mother, I know what my mother is, Vincent cut in. And I know what she said at that dinner. Dominic told me later, after everything fell apart. He didn't catch it at the time, but he caught it later. And it's been eating him alive. He paused. I'm not going to tell you my brother isn't capable of ugly. He is. We all are. But I watched that man sit in a room with a therapist last week and say out loud, for the first time, that girls like you came out of his mouth because some part of him had been carrying it his whole life without examining it. And that scares him more than losing you. I didn't say anything for a while. We sat on those steps, two people from two completely different worlds, listening to traffic and a neighbor's dog barking down the block. How is he? I finally asked. I hated that I asked. But I did. Bad. The pain's worse than it's ever been. He's barely functional. But that's not why I'm here. I didn't come to guilt you into going back. I came because you deserved the truth. What you do with it is your business. Vincent stood up, handed me a folder. The real evidence. Jessica's fabrication laid bare. And left. I sat on that porch for a long time after he drove away. That night, I talked to Papa Ernest. We sat at the kitchen table, just the two of us, after Mama went to bed. My father poured himself a small glass of something he kept in the back of the cabinet for serious occasions. And he looked at me the way he does. Patient, steady, no rush. Papa, can I ask you something? Did you and Mama did she ever wonder if you loved her for her, or just because she was there? He thought about it for a long time. My father doesn't do fast answers. When your mother and I came to this country, he said, we had each other. That was it. No family here, no friends, nothing. She used to say to me, Ernest, do you love me, or do you love that I'm the only one who understands you? And I told her, both. Both is okay. Love doesn't have to be clean to be real. He took a sip. Then he looked at me. This boy. Do you love him because of him or because he needs you? I opened my mouth, closed it. Papa nodded, like my silence told him everything. When you can answer that, he said, you'll know what to do. He took his glass to the sink, squeezed my shoulder, and went to bed. That was my father. No lectures, no judgment. Just the exact right question at the exact right time. It took me 2 more months to answer it. 2 months of replaying everything. The good. His laugh, the way he listened, the way his whole body relaxed under my touch, like I was the safest place he'd ever known. The bad, girls like you, the ease with which he believed the worst. The world he lived in that would always look at me and see an outsider. And the ugly. My part. The dependency I'd nurtured. The power I'd held on to because it made me feel like I mattered. I went back and forth 1,000 times. Mama thought I should move on. Abina said, trust your gut. Papa said nothing else. He'd asked his question and was waiting. And then one evening, I came home from a shift at the new clinic I'd started at. Smaller, quieter, no bodyguards. And Dominic Rossi was sitting on my parents' front steps. No SUV with tinted windows. No Marco. No entourage. Just him in a regular jacket, sitting on a concrete stoop in the Bronx, like he'd been waiting there all day, which my neighbor later told me he had. He stood up when he saw me, and I could see it. The pain etched into every part of him. Thinner. Dark circles, hands trembling, but his eyes were clear. Not desperate, not demanding, just present. Before you say anything, he said, I know I don't get to show up here and expect anything. I know that. Then why are you here, Dominic? Because I need to say something, and you deserve to hear it in person, not through Vincent, not on the phone. I crossed my arms. So say it. He took a breath. Girls like you. I said that, and I need you to know. It didn't come from Jessica's folder. It came from me, from something I never made myself look at. My mother says things, and I pretended I didn't hear them. People in my world say things, and I let it slide because it wasn't about me. And then, the second I was hurting, it came out of my mouth like it'd been sitting there the whole time. Because it had been. He stopped. Swallowed hard. I'm not asking you to forgive that. I don't know if you can. I just need you to know I see it now. And it's the thing I'm most ashamed of. Not the business, not the violence, not any of it. Those 3 words. I stood there on the sidewalk, arms crossed, looking at this man. The Dragon. The most feared name in the city. Standing on a porch in the Bronx, shaking, telling me the truest thing he'd ever said. I need to tell you something too, I said. He waited. I could have helped you manage the pain on your own, months ago. I figured out enough to teach you coping techniques. Ways to handle it without me being there. His face shifted. Confusion. I didn't tell you, I said. Because if you didn't need me, I was afraid you wouldn't want me. So I kept you dependent, and that's on me. Silence. A long one. A car alarm went off down the block, and neither of us flinched. So we both messed up. He said finally. Yeah, we both messed up. So what do we do? I looked at him. This man who'd hurt me in ways I'd carry forever. This man I'd also wronged in ways I was only starting to understand. 2 flawed people from 2 different worlds, standing on a porch in the Bronx with nothing figured out. I don't know if this works, Dominic. I don't know if love is enough when the world is built the way it is. It's not enough, he said, but it's where we start. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I didn't fall into his arms. Life isn't a movie, and this wasn't a moment for grand gestures. This was just 2 people being honest for maybe the first time. Come inside, I said. My mama made jollof rice. Don't you dare call it interesting. He laughed. Small, surprised, real. The first real thing between us in months. He walked up the steps. I opened the door. Inside, I could hear Mama clanking pots and Papa's news playing low in the living room. My world. The real one. The one I'd stopped pretending didn't exist. Dominic stepped inside, and I didn't know what came next. I didn't know if we'd make it. I didn't know if 2 people this different, carrying this much damage, from worlds this far apart, could build something that wouldn't collapse under its own weight. But I knew one thing Nana told me a long time ago, sitting in that apartment in the Bronx. The gift isn't the healing, child. The gift is the seeing. You see people. That's enough. That's always enough. I saw him. All of him. The ugliness and the trying. And he was starting to see me. Not the version I performed. Not the cure. Just me. Maybe that's not a love story. Maybe it's just a starting point. But sometimes, a starting point is all you need.